thank you so much for doing this with us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is awesome. We want to talk about basically how you got your start in music, growing up, and to today here at the Casbah. So
Yeah, man.
you grew up in London?
Yeah. So the band's all from London.
Okay.
London's a really big city. You know, it's like New York. So we're from like northeast London.
Okay. Are all of you guys in the band are all from Northeast London?
From East London, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so we all we went same school together and all that. We're friends for just friends
Forever.
at school, yeah, locally. And, we went to school in one area. We're from a few different neighboring neighborhoods.
Okay.
But, I mean, this far away from home is pretty much the same area.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Excuse me. So yeah, we started from school.
From school?
Yeah, the most primitive way to start a band, really.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
right.
mean? I was like I said, skateboarding into punk rock and
Yeah, let's go back there.
ska and everything.
So growing up in London, how did you first start? How did you first start getting into music?
My parents both big music listeners, not musicians.
Okay.
But listeners. My parents' music is kind of like 70s, 80s, funk, soul, disco, early R&B.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so stuff like the Whispers and the Fatback Band and kind of stuff like that. And they both my parents are by no means reggae historians, but they both have pretty good reggae knowledge as well.
Sure.
The areas that we come from, and then my mum's definitely the areas my mum and dad grew up in is very high Jamaican population.
Is that right?
Yeah. So
in London, did they grow up in London as well?
Oh yeah.
Oh my
big
God.
time, man. We've
I
had
didn't know that.
huge Jamaican population from the 50s.
Really?
Yeah, after the Second World War, because all the Caribbean and Jamaica was all still it still is part of the British Commonwealth, but at that time it was still part of the British Empire.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
when a lot of men got killed in the Second World War, they sent for the Caribbean and India and Pakistan and all that for workers basically.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so from the 50s, so you talking about Jamaican music from the 50s in loads of cities across England, we've had lot of Jamaican music, which is why the UK reggae and ska history and all that is so serious, because we've got, you know what I mean, it's Mexicans in San Diego or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It's a cultural, huge cultural influence. Do you know what
I didn't have any
Yeah,
idea
we
about
didn't
that.
learn that in our grade school.
Yeah, so my parents grew up listening to a lot of black music as a result, basically, because of their friends and all that. So yeah, so I kind of had and it wasn't necessarily I was some reggae nerd because of that, but that was the music that was in my house. And then when I got outside of the house, we had pirate. I don't know how much of a thing it is here, but in London, pirate radio was a huge thing.
Okay, yeah. Not is. I mean, there were some stations, but not.
I mean, now
a whole
this
lot.
is kind of pre everyone having the internet. But,
Right, of
pirate
course.
radio was
Yeah.
if you were not mainstream radio music.
Mm-hmm.
It was on the pirates, mostly a lot of electronic music and the music that sort of came after reggae in the UK. So jungle and garage and drum and bass, bass heavy sort of music that. Just having a radio in my room as a kid and just hearing all that.
So you could sift through the dial and
so that was
find
the thing.
the
You
pirate
find the bandwidth
stations.
and you got to find the bandwidth.
Wow.
And there's no clear at that time as well. There was especially in London, built-up cities, hardly any free bandwidth. Do you know what I mean? Every frequency.
Something was on it.
Something.
My gosh.
Something. Whether it's just some crazy person ranting or where it's some illegal, because they're all illegal stations,
Yeah.
pirate
That's
stations as
amazing.
well. Yeah. So you'd be see you have the housing. What you guys call housing project, blocks and stuff. We call them council estates. Yeah, you would have someone a kid or whatever climbing up the lift shaft to go and put a transmitter
on the top
on
of
the
this
top.
building.
Yeah, and then the station is going to be somewhere close by or in that building.
Yeah.
With the DJs and the MCs and hoping they don't get the door kicked off by the police
that
and all
is
that.
so cool.
Yeah. So
That's
I wasn't involved
crazy.
in that. I don't want to make it I was the one.
Yeah, but still.
But do you know what I mean? That's a whole big part of
But growing
music
up
history.
in
Yeah,
that,
yeah. So like that introduced me to a lot of different music, and then just like whatever hip hop was big at the time, and then I was like skateboarding. This is like when I'm like 12 or something.
Yeah,
back
yeah.
to like how I actually got into music that you decide you want, and then there was like Green Day kind of changed the game for me when I was like 12.
Yeah, same here.
I mean? Yeah,
that's crazy. Yeah,
and it was like. Yeah, and then it was just like skateboarding and punk rock and ska and all that
personally,
stuff.
I got a lot of my music interest and knowledge and stuff was watching old skateboarding videos.
Yeah, yeah.
You'd watch a video you liked or a skater, and they'd be skating to a song, and like that's how I found out about the Misfits and Iron Maiden.
Tony Hawk's
as
well. That was not older punks maybe like ha ha ha, but like I'm born in 1990.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean? You're hearing that. You're playing a Tony Hawk's game when you're like 10. Yeah, Dead Kennedys or an Adolescence and all that. Like, it has a profound impact on you.
Sure does, yeah. That's really cool. So you got into punk rock, then you said 12 years old, you're skateboarding.
Yeah, so like I probably start going to shows when I'm about like 13.
Was there a lot of punk clubs around where you hung out, or?
Not really like specific punk club, like not like this not is like a punk club,
right?
Do you know what I mean? Like there's definitely like spots in the city that like has punk shows at it, and a couple like bars and stuff that were kind of more punky bars, but it wasn't necessarily like specifically like punk clubs. A lot of our early shows were like just wherever there were shows to be had.
Oh, really?
And we would like make it that kind of night, on like even like local like youth center, like a local like drama center and stuff like that. Like we would like put the shows on, and somewhere where like under 18s could come and things like that as well.
Yeah.
And then and squats as well. Like that was probably more like what the punk club was, like squatted buildings.
Yeah,
that's
like
so cool.
Yeah, like
we used to do like
stuff.
early, like really not anymore. It'd be hard for us to do now, but early on, when the whole thing was a lot more ghetto, like we used to do a lot of like the squat scene in East London and stuff, and
that's cool.
It was kind of it was like a mix as well of like it would be like punk rock bands, but then there would also be kind of like a reggae sound system thing going on, and maybe some more like weirder out there music as well. It wasn't like super segregated. At that time, But this is when the band first playing together, like 2007, 2008, 2009, like that kind of time.
So when did you pick up your first instrument then?
Yeah, like probably like with like the Green Day and the Rancid and all that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like 13, 14.
And you're playing
guitar.
Playing guitar.
But I haven't like massively improved the guitar since then. Like guitar for me is always the only like rock music I was ever into was like punk and hardcore.
Oh, okay.
So I've never like been like a guitar solo. I've never been into metal, and I've been into like
like the really intricate
literally
guitar
it's
work.
been like this like guitar music is like punk, and then everything else I'm into is like probably like not rock music.
Oh, okay.
So so I was never like like learning how to like
yeah, right.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a
shred solo,
the vessel
whammy
to
bars.
play like songs.
Rad. So how did you guys all decide to start playing together then? Like how did you meet the rest of you said you guys all went to school together?
Yeah, so me and Marcia went like primary school together, so we known each other since we were like 5 or 6 or something.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Not that we was like best friends then, but like we like knew our mums were friends and stuff like that. And then when we went to in the UK you go to high school is like 11 to like 18 or whatever. Yeah, so you just have like
so no middle school.
There's no there's no middle school.
Like
So it's just basically like from 11 to like 16 or 18, like you're all together.
Okay.
So when me and Marcy went to high school, the other two boys in the band were like, they're like 2 years older than us, so they were a little older. But they were all part of like that kind of like the music freak kids that weren't into what everyone else was into. So we was friends from then. And then the band, like I wanted to do a band called the Skints when I was like 15 or whatever. It sounded like a cool name.
Yeah, how'd you come up with that name?
It doesn't make the band name doesn't make sense.
Okay.
So like in England, you would say like I am skint, he is skint, she is skint, we are skint, like a single, like it's not plural.
Okay.
And it means to be like you're broke, like you haven't got any money.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I just thought it sounded like cool. It's even though the Skints doesn't make sense. When I was at the time, I thought it sounded cool.
I think it's a really cool name, and I had no idea what it was.
Yeah, so there you go. But so like The Skints, there was a couple of like early incarnations and early shows, but then it kind of settled on like the 4 people that you know today as the Skints in like '07.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we
then
was playing around just like London from then. Like I said, like all them early shows, you know what I mean? Wherever we could get anywhere that was like punky enough or rootsy enough for us to get a gig, and we were getting it. Yeah.
So then you guys start picking up like a little. I would just imagine you're getting a fan base at this point if you're playing around your area quite a bit.
Yeah, just like playing around London, just playing and just like practicing playing, trying to get our buddies to the shows where possible, and
yeah.
you know what I mean? And then like just doing it. And then we like made an EP that was like not just a scratchy demo kind of thing.
So you went into the studio and recorded?
Yeah, worked for like 2 days, a day maybe, 2 days.
Okay.
Made like an EP that wasn't awful. And from that, yeah, we started to like pick up some like opening slots of some of the more significant bands at the time.
Oh, that would come through the come through town.
Yeah,
and
that were
stuff?
like maybe like they were like probably like nationally touring bands, but we can like open up the London shows.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean all that sort of stuff.
How'd you get in contact with those bands?
At these times, we were like probably like more visible, like going to the shows, like at the shows, and even like
talking to the
talking
works
to
the
them,
club.
like ask like. There was like one show like in this place called Guildford, which is about 30 miles outside of London, and there was this show happening at some like youth centre, some punk show, and we just like went early and just like asked if we could just play for like 10 minutes.
Oh, that's
wow.
great.
Yeah, and they just let us play. Big up Random Hand. That's a band that we went on to tour. They're not really so active anymore, but that was like a punk ska band from England that we ended up touring with them down the line. But the first time we ever played with them was like us asking if we can open up for like 10 minutes.
And you just showed up with your gear?
Just showed up.
Good.
That's so
so
stupid.
cool.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
No,
that's
awesome.
awesome.
If a band turned up
bold.
tonight, it's like, can we play? Like, I'd be like, I don't know. Like, you have to ask someone. Do you know what I mean? It's just so impractical. But yeah, that's what we were on. Do you know what I mean? So things like that, getting in people's faces, and MySpace was the thing these times as well. This is like the end of MySpace, start of Facebook.
Okay.
Wow. So did you continue doing that, like just showing up to random like venues?
Yeah, we no, we did. I'm not gonna. That's not how we. I'm not gonna pretend that's how we built it up. Like I might have
That would
like
be
a couple
pretty-
times.
So cool.
But yeah, the link. It was more like the links with the slightly bigger bands, and then a couple of them like had this like still pretty small, but like a booking agent nonetheless, who was kind of booking like that whole like toilet, you know, like these kind of venues like across the UK, and like I was kind of at the end of like school, like. Again, college is different in the UK to US. So what you call college, we call university. And college for us, I guess, is like senior high school.
Oh, that is interesting.
So college is like from when you're like 16, 17 to like 18, 19 or something.
And that's when you learn like the trade you're going to be in, or?
Yeah, you can either do like apprenticeship, or maybe you're going to do like a little course. Like I did like some popular music course, but it's not like a university degree. Do you know what I mean? It's before you would go to
yeah, before you start going
college,
to getting like a bachelor's degree.
So
or
like
whatever.
at this time, this was kind of like the end of that in life, and then it was like, okay, cool, can either go to university, get a job, or quit your life and be in the Skints. So yeah.
So you went with the Skints?
Yeah, but at the time it was like, well, we probably went full time like sooner than
that.
we should have or could have, but it was
Yeah.
it was the choice that we made. You know what I mean?
So your first tour outside of London was that all DIY?
Oh, so the first tour we went on, like the first proper national tours, we booked a couple ones with like buddies bands, but one that we were like opening up was for a band called the King Blues. This is like the autumn in like 2008. That was like our first like tour of the UK.
That was the UK.
Just
okay.
UK, yeah. And then we went. The first time we went to Europe was like the spring after that. Like the oh no, was it? No, it was a while after that. No, it was like. First time we went to Europe was with like the Slackers.
Okay.
Yeah, it was in like maybe 2010.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were playing UK for like a good couple years
Okay.
before we like went out into the mainland, but that's pretty standard.
How yeah, I was gonna ask about that. How difficult is it going from playing like the UK and then going into Europe and playing all those countries there?
Yeah, it's
because everything's kind of close.
It's close, but like it really operates different. Like country to country, like
it's really different.
It's not like here where
if
you're a California band and you can go and link it up in a couple other states.
Right, you're not jumping state lines. You're jumping.
It's
like if you went from here and played down in Mexico.
It's a different thing, and like all the promoters and all that have kind of got different rules, and certain music's bigger than other countries. Like for us, I mean, we're lucky where we kind of transcend a couple different worlds.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, for example, like France for us is like all the gigs we do in France is like reggae, super reggae.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like pretty normal people. There's not that many rockers or whatever. But then like Germany is kind of much more like the punk kind of end for us, and like is a super rock music country, and so it's really different country to country.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So you mix up your set list based on where?
Not really. Not really. We kind of do the Skints wherever the Skints is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but it's just more, I'm saying in like, it's not really like.
It's who they're
There's not really a rule
with.
for UK than a rule for mainland. It's kind of really different country to country.
Okay. What about coming here to the States for the first time?
So that was like 4 years ago.
Okay.
First time we came here.
And was that when you first came here? Did you because you guys put out the EP you're talking about?
Yeah.
The very first EP.
So the EP was like 2008.
And then you released
first album's like end of 2009.
Okay. And at the first album that you put out, did you have a label at that time, or
like a really a small indie?
A small indie
licensing deal.
Do you remember how you got hooked up with that?
Yeah, it was actually a band at the time. The first release of the album, there was a band at the time called Sonic Boom 6 from Manchester in England, and they were kind of big in the punk and ska scene, and they were like setting up a label.
Okay.
And we were one of the bands that they signed, but it didn't really work out so good as a venture for them, so we ended up re-releasing the record like 6 months later through the publisher at the time, just like a licensing deal. And since then we've just done like one album licensing deals with people.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So we've never done like a record deal where it's like multiple, the band is signed to a label.
Oh really?
Yeah, we've always just done like, here's the album, you can have it for X amount of years.
Yeah.
And then we'll have it back.
Well, this most recent record here, Swimming Lessons, and then the one right before that, those were both on Easy Star.
Both on Easy Star, yeah.
But you just signed one album deals with both records. Whoa! Oh wow! I didn't. Yeah, that's interesting.
Are your parents like lawyers? Do you know?
No, not at all. Yeah, we have we've got no lawyers in the family. We got no like rich uncle or anything like that. Do you know what I mean? It's just been us figuring out the game.
Wow.
But that's a brilliant move on your end.
We've never, like I said, we've never signed to a major or really particularly entertained it that much, just because we know a lot of bands.
Yeah,
you know a lot of stories.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, listen, I'm not trying to say like every major label in the world is
of
evil.
course.
Like most of the time they have the best intentions when they sign you, but it's just when it doesn't go well, you're just no longer in control of your own.
Yeah. And they have a lot of bands that they're working with, especially the majors. So
100%.
They're not going to put as much time into one project as they probably will.
Totally. And as well, in our whole career, I've never seen, especially in the UK, maybe here's a little different. Here is a bit different, but in the UK, I've never seen a band that comes from either like punk world or the reggae world signed to major and it go well.
Yeah, there's not.
Honestly, I haven't.
Yeah.
In my
I don't.
In my listening lifetime.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Yeah,
in
me
the last
too.
20 years, you can think of one where it was like, it went. Oh, maybe in the US, yeah.
Oh, the US we've had bands.
Sure,
because
you have for sure. But
we have a lot of reggae bands.
But a lot of them are older than 20 years. I mean, we're getting old.
No, but he said anyone.
And a lot of them are not signed to major labels as well.
Yeah, I mean Sublime maybe was a major.
Yeah, Sublime is maybe the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But other than that, I mean, there's not a whole lot of bands.
UK is even less, man. Trust me.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you put out you put out the first record on the publishing deal.
Yeah. So we put out the first record. The second record, was like after we'd started touring in mainland Europe a bit more.
Okay.
So we put that out in 2012. through the same publisher at the time. We funded that one on like a crowdfunder. Pledge Music.
Pledge Music,
at
yeah.
the time.
I've heard of Pledge Music.
Yeah.
There was quite a few bands that use that.
Yeah. They're crashing out now, though. You heard about that?
No.
It's like business gone bad for them. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, really bad. Like people not getting their album money and things like that. It's not
that's
good.
too bad.
But yeah,
it was a cool
sorry,
concept.
Pledge Music.
No, but it was
because it was a great concept, and at the time for us, it was brilliant.
Yeah, because you could have your fans help support your record, and you know,
I mean, we were a way smaller band then, but like you said, like we'd cultivated enough of a fan base to do it at the time,
and
so
there was enough people that wanted
Right.
the record out that they funded it.
How'd you fund your first one to pay for that studio time?
It was like £1,000. I think we just sort of borrowed it and reached into our own pockets, whatever we had. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome.
So you
put out the second record.
So the second record, at that point, like I said, we'd done like a bit more like mainland Europe touring, with like the Slackers, Real Big Fish.
Wow.
How did you? So you toured? Oh, because you toured with the bigger the bigger U.S. ska bands when they come to to
like
the
all
UK?
of them, man, over the
Like
years,
Less
like
Than Jake
Less Than Jake, Real Big Fish.
The Mighty
Boston's we haven't played with we played their Boston hometown throwdown.
Wow.
We've never played with the Bostons in Europe. Who have we played with in the UK and Europe? Like I said, Agrolites, Slackers, Real Big Fish, Less Than Jake.
Goldfinger.
That's amazing.
Like at festivals, Goldfinger. I'm trying to think, man.
I mean, those are the biggest ones. Those are the big ones.
Yeah.
Definitely going to be some I'm forgetting. Right,
Yeah.
off the top of my head, but you know the bands.
Yeah. Are the U.S. reggae bands like Slightly Stupid or like Sublime with Rome? Like, are those bigger bands in the U.K. or not really?
Nah.
They don't really embrace that.
Sublime
reggae?
with Rome, the Sublime name maybe carries weight, and Sublime with Rome will probably do pretty well in the UK. Fairly well in the UK, but nowhere near to what it is here. But I would say like the bigger, like Less Than Jake and Real Big Fish are bigger in the UK.
Oh, they are.
Than like Revolution, Slightly Stupid, any of that stuff. Yeah.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, like significantly.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
People
they
in
also
the
have a
UK
history
don't.
of
The Cali reggae scene like is
isn't
not
around.
big in England.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's probably just a visibility thing, and because our reggae scene is like super different as well.
Right.
It's like way less band based, much more like sound system.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like I said, like a lot more of like a Caribbean community thing.
Yeah. Than
kind of like a boys in bands kind of club.
Yeah.
Which is,
Yeah. Like a stoner
and that's
reggae
not a,
band.
No.
That's not a diss. Just literally
Right.
saying how
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have a very unique sound with like you can dance to it and like I like it. It's
Cool.
really nice.
Thanks.
Yeah, and you guys mix a lot of different elements in your songs, especially on this record,
Yeah.
where there's a lot of heavier punk rock parts and different breakdowns.
Yeah. Well, that's like kind of like throwing back to our first album a bit.
Oh,
really.
okay. Maybe I'm thinking of an earlier one. Yeah,
that's all good.
there's a heavier.
Yeah,
there's a
no,
lot
but
of
this
heavier-
what I'm saying is this record has like throwback
Oh,
moments
right,
to
got
the first
you.
record. Yeah.
Yeah. That's amazing. When did you guys come to the U.S. for the first time? Was that on the record right before this one?
So that was right off the back of FM. So like Part and Parcel, which was album number 2. Sorry, I'm just trying to remember my life. But it was like 2012. Touring. Yeah, we toured with some different stuff off that record as well. We toured with like Gym Class Heroes in the UK.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like some more out the box stuff like Yumi at 6, who are like a big
They're
like,
huge,
pop
yeah.
rock band at the time, but they
Uh-huh.
really liked us. So yeah.
So those tours you were getting just off of
MySpace, Facebook.
Yeah, how are you
That's
connecting with like
so
Gym
this
Class
is like
Heroes?
2011, 2012. And at this point, we've got like a different booking agent now.
Oh,
With
okay.
United Talent, who's probably a bit more like, connected with like non-punk stuff.
Yeah, more of the mainstream band.
Yeah, so... But like the Yumi at 6 thing was like, they didn't have to take us to tour. So that was them like, we'd met them at a festival and they heard a record and was like, we want to bring you.
Oh,
Even
wow.
though none of their fans understood the music. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it
'cause
was
it's
like a
different
seed
genre.
planting thing, because we was playing some of their fans that were like, whatever, 14, 15-year-old girls at the time, and it was just like...
Oh, yeah.
But now, those people are like 20,
Yeah.
21,
Yeah.
and they, you know, drink Hennessy and smoke weed and listen to the Skints.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it was kind of a few tours for like that kind of thing. That was kind of good for. And then FM we started recording. Yeah, we went to France a whole bunch of the second album too. We really got it cracking in France.
Okay.
Yeah, had a release of a French label out there. And then FM we started making in like 2014, came out 2015, and that was our first US tour because of the Easy Star connection and all that.
Yeah, because the Easy Star is out of New York City.
Yeah.
And when you signed one record deals for the past 2 albums with Easy Star.
Yeah.
And then they brought you out here to the US.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a case of them bringing us.
But
you know what I mean? We had to find an agent here and then, you know what I mean? And then those it's kind of a bit of a catch-22 with like the indie label and the booking agent thing, where it's like one needs the other and the other needs the other to make it. So it was kind of a thing of like both those things happening at the same time.
Okay.
And also us like being able to build up enough money at home to then blow it all here, trying to come and make it work. Do you know what I mean?
So when you did that first tour here in the United States, were you guys opening up for somebody? Did they set you up with a band?
Yeah, so it was a couple different things. So we did like an a northeast run with the Easy Star All Stars.
Okay.
And then who was the house band of the label, and then we flew over. This played here on our first show of the West Coast, actually.
Aww.
Really?
Yeah, the Casbah. And then we did like a little California run with Fortunate Youth and the Steppers, and we did Cali Roots and a punk rock bowling sideshow at the end, and that was the first tour. Yeah, and then we came back. We did a Tribal Seeds tour on the West Coast.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
Came back a couple months later. Did like the Cali Roots again. Did some stuff with like Morgan Heritage out here and the Expanders, and what else we did? And then we did with Sublime with Rome on the East Coast.
Oh, really?
That fall, yeah. And then we did 311 the next summer.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, that's our US touring. Then we did the 311 cruise just in March.
Oh, you did? How was that?
Pretty wild. Never been on a cruise before.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
neither have we.
Neither have we.
So, and that's like surreal. Like we grew up listening to 311.
Yeah. See, that's a strange thing for us. And big up 311 for bringing us on tour. But that's another band that until we went on the tour, we didn't know how big they were until we went on the tour.
They're massive.
They sold like 10 million records in the US.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then like they came to UK like once in like 2001, opening up for Incubus.
And that was it?
That was it.
They're opening up for Incubus?
Yeah,
Wow.
I think because our sound engineer from home was there.
Oh,
was
my
at the Incubus show.
Yeah, because
And then like apart from that in the UK, I mean, I'm sure 311 fans exist in England, but it's like,
but not like they
it's
do
not.
here.
Yeah, right. So for us, it was like we're like saying to people like, oh, we're going on tour with this band 311, and they're like, what? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, and we're like, cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sounds like there's going to be people at the shows, and they were.
Oh, yeah, there will be.
Yeah. So yeah, that was really good. So big up 311 for bringing us as well.
Wow.
That's really, really cool. And I saw something where you played like, I mean, you guys really grind it out when it comes to shows. I saw that 3 years in a row you played like over 150 shows in a year.
Yeah.
Is it just constantly? Are you constantly touring?
It's been pretty constant. Last year we actually had a really quiet year for shows. Did like 25 shows last year because we had to take the year to make this record.
Make the record.
Yeah, it just wasn't going to happen otherwise. And yeah, it's just one of those things, you know, we put ourselves in a position where we need to tour to keep everything going.
Yeah.
So that's the reality of the situation.
Uh-huh.
But, you know, I've had worse jobs.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Your childhood friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how do you, like, so with those 3 years, so 150 shows a year, like, were you doing like runs like Europe, come home for a little bit, US, come home, like, or were they all were you just kind of?
Yeah, it's sort of like different year to year, really.
Really?
Yeah. Like the US stuff, like we started coming in, like I said, the first one we came was 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Between 2015 and 2017, we came here like 7 times or something.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was like a couple years hardcore US touring, and then, yeah, some of the more intensive years early on actually was like when it was like just the UK.
Yeah.
And that's like even more you know what I mean? You try and do a 4-week tour in a country that's smaller than California.
Oh,
you get some holes, man. You know what I mean? So that was some of the more like hardcore ones for sure. Yeah.
Good practice.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so, because the whole area of the UK is smaller than California.
Yeah.
And then you did 4 weeks, so that's a whole.
Oh
month.
yeah, we've done a 4 weeks already.
So
I mean, people don't, but we did.
Yeah. How would you go about booking that? Like, is there enough venues? I mean, I guess
Apparently.
there is. But
Yeah, apparently venues.
you don't have to go very far, I guess, in between dates.
Yeah, that's the main thing about touring the UK is that the driving, like 6 hours is like a bad drive on UK tour.
Whereas here,
it's like actually on a tour here, 6 hours is it's all right.
Yeah, that's like a normal, normal drive.
Yeah.
So do your families all support this? Like, do they miss you? Is it super sad?
Nah, it's not super sad. Like I said, we've had like a bunch of time at home making a record anyway, so I think they're all pretty glad that we're on tour right now.
So you made this in London?
Yeah, mix. We made it mostly in London, and then some of the rockier tracks we did out in like the West Country, a different studio.
Okay.
And then it was actually mixed. Most of it was mixed in Thailand.
Whoa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Was there a reason behind that?
Yeah, so the producer who made our last 2 records, he lost his studio in England, so he's pretty much moved him and all his mixing gear out there.
Wow.
So yeah, we recorded it in the hood, and recorded and mixed it in the tropics. Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Is there a scene out there too?
In Thailand?
Yeah.
Yeah, they do like reggae, but he's not. I think he's more out there because it's Thailand rather than because the scene is booming.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of people like visit Thailand to go on an amazing vacation.
Yeah.
And surf. And
I mean, it's amazing where I went out there for like a week to like sitting on the mix, and you know, there's no sound law in Thailand. You know, in London, you're gonna get like the police giving you an antisocial behaviour order if you're like bumping music loud at like 3 a.m. and things like that. Thailand is not even. No one's even thought that should be a rule.
Really?
Yeah. So it's
like
pretty
Vegas.
good. Yeah.
So there's no, like.
I mean, it's also pretty secluded where he is too. So it's like,
so
it's nice.
he can crank it.
Yeah,
and nobody will care.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thanks so much for sitting down and hanging out.
Yeah, no worries.
We really appreciate it. Do you have any advice for aspiring artists?
Just like ask yourself like what you're doing it for and like how much you want it. Do you know what I mean? Like, what are you really into? Because if you're an aspiring artist that's into the idea of me being an artist more than what it's actually made of, like that's okay. But like, don't be like, oh, like this is my life, like music is my life. Because like when you actually make it your life, do you know what I mean? Then
yeah, it's a different story.
Yeah, there's like, be careful what you. I don't want to say be careful what you wish for. It makes it sound like I'm having a bad time. I'm having a great time, but I have met a lot of people that like would tell you like to meet you like this is what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But if I told them like what they actually have to do, they don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Working holidays, weekends.
Yeah, or even like, you know, if I told someone like I've been in this band like for 12 years and I'm not like on MTV or anything like that, people like wouldn't want to do it. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm fine with it because that's not why I'm here. But yeah, that's.
But if somebody thought that they want to join a band just to get on MTV or whatever TV,
yeah, I'd say like or even to get rich. Like if you're here to like try and make money, do anything else. Do anything else. I promise you, man. Do anything else. But if you're serious about it, yeah, man, swallow your pride, stay humble, and like take every show. And like when you've actually, I feel like it's weird. Like Instagram, I think I'm glad that we didn't come up with like Instagram being the norm.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Because maybe our attitude as a band will be different. Because I see a lot of things now where it's like, know your worth and like charge this much money because of like your worth. And it's like, yeah, like you can have self-worth and like you should have pride and self-worth, but you should also like be aware of like how the world works. And if you're sort of feel like an artist or a singer or a band or whatever, and you're like, and there's a show and there's maybe not a lot of money and you're like, well, I'm not going to do it because I'm worth this much. But it's like, well, if you're not worth any tickets in that town, like that's how much you're worth.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So like maybe
yeah.
you have to get over that a bit and be like, do you know what? I'm not worth this today, but if I put this much work in, then maybe
next time I come back to that city, I'll be worth that.
So like little things like that I think inspirational quotes have kind of got people a bit messed up on the reality of things.
Yeah.
So yeah, just be careful with what you read on Instagram.
Yes.
I love that. Yeah.